We just got back from a pretty awesome trip. We got to go up to 343 Industries. Now, one of the coolest parts about this trip was that it gave us the opportunity to go up and actually play some multiplayer, not to mention get some snazzy new details about what they're doing with multiplayer this time around, which I think we would both say is a pretty dramatic change of pace from previous Halo games.
Yeah, they're really trying to incorporate more of a story into the multiplayer. They felt that was lacking, and they're making a lot of little tweaks here and there that if you've played a lot of Halo, you'll kind of notice, be like, oh, this is nice. I've always wanted this.
Kyle, meanwhile, totally did not come with us to visit 343.
I wasn't even in the office when you guys went.
But like us, you're a big Halo guy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You like playing a lot of Halo multiplayer.
Yes.
So we thought we'd take the opportunity to fill you in a little bit about what we saw up there.
I want to know what hasn't changed. Like what feels like Halo? Does it still feel like a Halo game?
I think that the actual feel of the combat in competitive multiplayer feels really similar. It looks better, but it looks like Halo multiplayer.
Okay.
There's man cannons flinging you guys all around. And
Okay, no portals or anything like Halo 1 portals. Like you're still getting flung across the map and stuff like that.
Weren't there like vertical elevators kind of as well? Like
There might have been,
straight
yeah.
up? We didn't get to play any vehicle maps either, but
Sure enough.
Okay.
those are almost guaranteed, right?
They've said that vehicles are coming back, like you'd expect.
Yeah.
The familiar modes, I think they've pretty well promised that most of those are going to be in place. We definitely played some Team Slayer,
Okay.
which you would expect to be there. We kind of played some old school by playing some Team Slayer, and then a new game mode that they called Regicide. I think the highest scorer becomes king,
Okay.
right? And he builds up a bounty as he kills other players.
Okay.
And so to take out the king, you get the bounty on him that he's gained by killing all these other players.
Now you're saying bounty. I mean, are you getting like, because in Halo Reach you got experience where you could buy things that didn't make you a better player or give you more shielding, but it, just change your aesthetics, the way you looked. I mean, is that kind of coming back? Like there's a leveling system again?
Yes, there totally is. It's a little separate from the bounty in Regicide. I think Regicide, you have the points that you get that just kind of tally up, and that's who determines who's the winner. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the match, there's actually a separate scoring mechanism that I'm not sure how much it's connected to your actual in-game score.
Okay.
But it's called Spartan points, right?
I believe so, yes. And
but you won't be getting like new, more powerful weapons like Call of Duty or anything like that, right?
Actually, Kyle.
Yeah, actually, that is a thing that has changed.
Oh,
It is.
Okay.
So basically, Spartan points, you get all sorts of different medals when you finish a match now, and there's a big focus on making sure that you can level and that you can improve, even if your like kill-death ratio isn't just phenomenal.
Yeah,
right.
Like mine. Mine is usually pretty.
Like
terrible.
yours.
Mine's atrocious.
You might get points for an assist, right?
Okay.
Or for a revenge kill. Really, almost anything could potentially get you a medal, and that goes towards this sort of meta value of Spartan points that can be spent for improvements. Now, they didn't totally detail for us all of the specific improvements that you'd be having, but they were very clear on the point that whereas previous games, including Halo Reach, had only cosmetic elements,
You'll get stronger.
you'll get new stuff. In particular, you're going to actually build up your loadouts.
Okay.
Right? So previously, they had these preset loadouts that you could have for Halo Reach. You go out and you have like your recon set.
Yeah,
right?
there's like sprinting, right? Jetpacks, invisibility, the sending out the hologram dude.
Right, so you're going to have those loadouts, but you're going to actually get to customize them and build them out as you gain new weapons and actually gain new loadout slots that you can switch between at respawns.
One thing that they did say is that you're not going to be able to start with like superpower weapons like rocket launcher and things like that. You will get like new guns, but they won't be the overpowered like crazy guns. And of course you can still set those in the map options, basically. Like if you want to have all rockets and everyone's got them, then that'll be fine. But
And speaking of loadouts, and this is something I actually did kind of overhear right when you guys got back. I heard sprinting isn't a loadout anymore. Is that right?
That's totally right. Sprint is now something available at all times.
I like that.
I think a lot of people liked Sprint and would choose that loadout just to get Sprint.
I got kind of addicted to it because I just wanted it. So when I didn't have it, I would, even if I had a jetpack or something, I would miss Sprint. So even though it was kind of like a weak loadout, it was one I always went with. So.
I think you are not alone in that.
Yeah.
And 343 recognized that and said, look, let's pull that out. Let's make Sprint something everybody can do, and then you can pick something a little bit more unusual and fun to do with your loadout.
Another cool thing is a new power is the Forerunner vision.
Oh yeah.
Which allows you to kind of see through walls and see your opponents kind of running around. There are ways to kind of fake out the Forerunner vision, like using the holograms and.
There's also a number of other like little changes that we noticed as we were playing the game. There's no delay on respawn by default anymore.
Interesting.
So like when you die, you tap X and you respawn.
One thing that's kind of different is there are now these new weapon drops where they kind of will randomly put a sniper rifle somewhere on the map and everyone kind of rushes to get it, or a rocket launcher. Even if you know the map inside and out, you still have to, there's still an element of surprise. You don't know, like, oh, of course there's a sniper rifle up here, I'm gonna run there immediately. So,
yeah. Which I really like. I mean, there's already a barrier between novice players and experienced players in a game like Halo, where just your pure skill is gonna determine that if you've played it a lot, you're gonna totally beat these other guys who haven't played it as much. But on top of that, there's always been like, well, if I know exactly where the most powerful equipment is on the board, I can rush over there and really double my chances to wreck everybody else. And they've tried to even that out a little bit with these weapon drop ideas, which by the way, double as being a really cool way to move the focal points of combat around the map. Because, you know, when a rocket launcher drops over in some kind of forgotten corner that nobody's gone to for a while, it forces people to kind of move in that direction. And of course, somebody then gets that rocket launcher while there's still like 3 dudes around trying to get to it.
Yeah.
Which results in more kind of fun.
It creates
combat.
like a natural King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Is melee still like a good attack? Like, can you, in Reach, you could assassinate people.
They still have the execution thing.
Okay.
Is still there. Like when you come up from behind on somebody or whatever. Any of the ways that you could do executions before, I think, are still there. At least as far as I could tell while I was playing. I got in a couple. They've done some stuff to make it a little easier to handle quitters in games, so that people are joining mid-match. So the matchmaking system will actually kind of account for that and bring people in, so that, you know, on a situation where you've lost 2 of your teammates, it doesn't just mean like game over. Why do we even care anymore?
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot of detail about like how specific that matchmaking will be and what level of people it'll look for depending on where the match is at. I don't know if they're doing anything like that. But
did you guys play any? Were there any classic maps? You said you played 2 maps. Were they completely new?
I think they were both completely new. They kind of just want to show off what they're doing differently. I think they got a lot of that classic feel from doing the Halo anniversary, where they were able to kind of hit a lot of those really classic maps. But for now, they're really showing all new maps, and I wouldn't be surprised if the on-disc maps were all completely new.
Wraparound was kind of a big sort of circular arena almost, right, with a lot of kind of outer corridors and then this big inner area. In terms of like theme, it was Forerunner solar power facility. There's a lot of kind of multi-level vertical fighting on that map.
A lot of man cannons shooting right towards the center, so you can kind of do some aerial battles.
So you'll have some like where you're hitting each other in the face, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's always fun.
So the man cannons, as well as this like big open center space, means that like it's really just a bloodbath in the middle of the map, whereas the outer edges are kind of more small skirmishes. The other map was called Warhouse, and the most notable feature of that one is there's this big like Cyclops mech in the middle, this inoperable walking mech. It seemed like there were a lot of kind of twisty corridors on that one.
Yeah.
So it lended itself well to kind of short range weaponry, you know, shotguns and assault rifles and stuff like that.
Melee.
Melee, totally, because you turn a corner and there's a dude.
You said it's called Warhouse?
I think so.
It's a pretty incredible name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, there's a war going on in that house. So
Right.
They got their names down, it sounds like.
But Kyle, what I want to do right now is just blow your mind about this whole multiplayer experience.
Okay,
whether you're playing,
let me get comfortable.
Whether you're playing in Warhouse or Wraparound or any of these other crazy new maps that they've got, Halo multiplayer is now totally wrapped around this like story conceit called Infinity multiplayer, they call it.
Okay.
And Infinity multiplayer is this idea that you are a Spartan 4, so like this new breed of Spartan, on a UNSC ship called the Infinity.
The biggest ship that they have ever produced.
Right.
And I believe it was first brought up in the Karen Travis novels, right? The,
in Glasslands. So
it's something that exists in the Halo
lore
already.
Totally fits within the lore.
That's cool.
It's out on this mission, and you are part of its crew. When you're doing competitive multiplayer, you're actually on this like combat deck.
It's like a holodeck.
Yeah.
On a large scale.
Or like X-Men Danger Room,
Yeah.
you know? It's the idea that there's this whole huge deck of this 3-kilometer long ship that's just dedicated to these Spartan 4s training with each other. And so that is why there's blue versus red. They're in training. They're getting ready for this big mission that they're going out on.
So you're not going to see any elites. You're not going to play as them.
No.
It'll all be Spartans.
All these new Spartans, which are the new Spartan 4s, are these kind of like, they wear like a lightweight version of the Mjolnir armor, right? And they are, rather than being kids, like Master Chief was like this kid that was recruited into the program and genetically altered and stuff. The Spartan 4s are actually UNSC soldiers that have already been in battle. You know,
so they're not Spartans per se, I
well,
guess?
they are now. They're like, for instance, one of them might be an ODST, right?
Okay.
Who was recruited and became part of the Spartan program and got all this new training and new equipment and all that kind of stuff. But they're still much more kind of human than somebody like John 117, right?
So on this holodeck,
Yeah.
can they recreate like Sherlock Holmes stories and stuff like that?
I hope so. You play out these training missions basically on the ship, and everything that you do works into building up your Spartan 4, changing him or her cosmetically, changing him or her their loadouts, all that kind of stuff. Now, why, you might ask, are they training?
That was my next question.
They got this brand new mode, right, called
Spartan Ops.
Spartan Ops.
It's set up like a TV season where every week anyone who's bought the game for free will get this downloadable content where it's basically kind of a video, a narrative video of a story following this group of Spartans that we don't really know anything about just yet. But then you'll play like 5 distinct levels or challenges related to that narrative video. We don't know how long the videos are, we don't know how big the levels will be, but every week you can expect to get a new piece of this story, and they're hoping that it'll work like a TV show where people go online and discuss like, oh, what's this happening? What does this mean? You know,
So are
did
you
this
playing
character
like,
die or
is it
something?
levels, or is it
Yeah.
like you have these multiplayer assignments that you have to do?
They talk about it as if they use the term away missions.
Okay.
So
More Star Trek kind of references, right?
exactly, that's what you want, right?
Yeah, that's Halo needs more of that.
If all your competitive multiplayer is training on the ship, your Spartan Ops are actual away missions, going to new locations,
Oh, okay.
facing new missions, going up against and dealing with objectives that are not anywhere else in the game. They're not part of the single player like campaign. They're not something from your competitive maps. They're something totally different. They actually have a whole part of their team crafting. I mean, it's really like a second campaign. By the end, they say that what they call season 1,
Yeah.
right? Because they're going to, I think, kind of continue this if it's successful.
Yeah, if it takes off, yeah.
The season 1 will be comparable in an experience and in terms of time and in terms of involvement to like the single player campaign. The difference being that you're playing them with your buddies, right? You can play these with up to 4 players at once, and they're growing whether they play in the competitive modes or in the cooperative. Both ways
They'll gain
you're
experience.
It's all
gaining
one
points.
big pool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, does this replace the co-op that's usually featured when with Master Chief?
Sure.
Like his story is like you don't play his mode co-op.
All that co-op is still in the main campaign as well.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, it's not going to be a bunch of elites running around with Master Chief now.
Yeah.
Now it's just going to be kind of Master Chief clones.
Okay.
All these Spartan Ops missions are also replayable as much as you want. If you want to
Change
go for
difficulties.
achievements. Yeah.
Can you play them by yourself? The Spartan Ops?
You know, I'm not sure about that. I suspect that you could try in the same way that, like, more recently people have tried to solo the Mass Effect multiplayer stuff,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's kind of doable.
You're welcome to try it.
One thing that isn't there that that might be upsetting to some fans is that they have pulled out Firefight,
Okay.
which everybody really liked. Firefight. It was a pretty clear emulation of what Gears of War had done with Horde mode, but it had its own unique Halo twist.
Yeah.
While they didn't outright say this, I suspect that the new Spartan Ops are going to include missions.
That you take on waves, probably. And
Yeah,
it's
I wouldn't-
highly possible.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'm most excited about with the Spartan Ops is the idea of having that episodic experience that brings me back week after week. If it's good, if they can create a story that is compelling and mission content that is fun to play, I could easily envision going in there and having like 3 friends that I regularly join up with every week. We could go in and know that we're gonna tackle this content every week, and I think that's kind of exciting. It's something that TV fans, you know, if you watch Lost or Battlestar Galactica or Mad Men or
Star
Game
Trek.
of Thrones or Star Trek, although it's been a while.
Yeah.
You know, you have that water cooler experience the next day of getting to talk about, you know, this was really cool. And Frank O'Connor at 343, I think, really embraces that idea. He says that he's always wanted to kind of have that within games and have both the experience of people gathering around the water cooler and talking about, like, it was really cool when this character did this thing or said this one thing, which they're going to have because they have that kind of cinema. They're going to have these little like CG cinematic sequences. But he also likes the idea that people would sit around the water cooler and talk about, like, and it was really cool when you did this one thing, when you shot that guy and then threw him off the warthog. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And to be able to combine that into a single kind of narrative thread is pretty awesome. Not to mention the fact that I think that they are, in every way that they can, trying to tie it back to the main story, which, as we know at this point, it's about Master Chief, it's about Cortana, it's about this weird Forerunner world called Requiem. We know that that's what the campaign is about, and they were pretty explicit about the fact that Infinity multiplayer and the story that's going to be told through that will connect to those threads.
Even though, I mean, are they kind of on opposite ends of the universe, sort of? Or we got to play the game to find out more about that.
There was some talk that Infinity will somehow get to Requiem.
Right.
I don't know if it's the beginning, it's at the end, but it will somehow play into Master Chief's story. Everything in the game is tied together somehow.
Maybe there'll be like kind of a wormhole scenario, kind of like Star Trek Voyager.
You really want to get the Star Trek stuff in here, don't you, Kyle?
So I have a couple, just a couple more, just like little quick, easy questions.
Sure.
Forge, does it exist? Do we know?
Yeah, Forge is good.
Yeah.
Okay. They weren't talking about it at that point.
But they said it was in.
But is it okay? And how about like the theater, where you can kind of film all your multiplayer matches? Is that still going to be in there?
I don't know if they confirmed that one or not.
They seem to be pretty broad, like pretty much everything you come to expect about a Halo game now, ever since Halo 3, will be in there, plus all the new crazy stuff.
But overall, I mean, I think, at least for my part, I thought what I saw on display connected to multiplayer in this game was really promising. It seems like they are taking to heart a lot of the development lessons that have been learned by Bungie over the years in you know, a decade worth of Halo games. But there's a real fervent desire to add some more genuine context into it, and to get really that there's a really significant portion of players who still get Halo. They play through the campaign and then it goes on the shelf.
Yeah.
And they want those people to feel like there's a reason to switch over and start doing something meaningful in multiplayer. Maybe it's playing competitive, maybe it's just, you know, hopping in with a couple friends and doing this other kind of story connected to the Spartan 4s and the UNSC Infinity. But any which way, they want those people to stay involved with the game and get into the community and stay there.
Cool. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I'm ready for Halo 4.
I am also ready for Halo 4.